Hello, and welcome to Meditation with Melissa. I'm excited. I have, it's Monday morning after St. Patrick's Day, which I feel like people are going to be really fun to deal with today because of the choices that they've been making since Friday morning, some of you. And I want you to know, so I posted on Facebook yesterday about the fact that I don't drink. I don't do any kind of illegal activity. I used to. When I was younger, that was pretty much my whole thing. Was not my whole thing, obviously. I had a life and jobs, and I pretty much have always been a hard worker. When I was in college, I went to community college, and I also usually had at least one other job. But there was a time when I had 3 jobs and I was going to school because it was just possible for me. Interesting, it was fun, and I still had friends, and I did my homework, and I got good grades. The only time I didn't get good grades in class, it wasn't because I didn't want to do the work. It was because I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, I had a hard time in physics in college, and I had a hard time in physics in high school. I'm a math person, I like chemistry, and I could do the physics lab, but the physics theory, if it wasn't explained to me clearly enough, we had one teacher who would come into class, and the whole time she would spend talking. You would ask her a question, and her brain, she would respond to a question you didn't ask with information you didn't need about a subject we weren't talking about. And it was like, how are we supposed to learn with this teacher? So I don't know. Some people got good grades because she would give us a test about physics, but it was rarely connected with what she had actually taught. And I don't understand. All of us in the class would try and figure out how she was a teacher. She had to have had connections at the school, and someone had to have felt like, oh, this woman needs a job. Maybe she was a brilliant physicist, but she's not a teacher by any stretch of the imagination. And so I didn't get a good grade in her class. But I had a physics lab that same semester, and I got an A in the physics lab. So I don't understand how the two things are connected. But I did have a hard time in high school physics as well. And that's probably because all of us were distracted by the fact that there was a rumor going around that our physics teacher had touched boys when he was working at Sacred Heart Middle School, which as a kid I thought it was very serious. As an adult who's been working in the school system for a few months, I'm beginning to realize it's not that it's not a serious topic, it's that we love rumors about adults doing things. And so we just love the gossip of it all, the salaciousness. That had actually been true, he wouldn't be employed at another school. There would have been enough proof against him that they would have. You need a background check to be a teacher. In case you guys didn't know that, you need a background check to drive Lyft and Uber. You need a background check to become a teacher or even a substitute teacher. As I've undergone several background checks in the last year and a half. And they've all come back saying, yep, she's good. We can trust her as a functioning human being of society who has a brain about things and cares about people. And I'll still pass one because nothing has changed since then. Yeah, I didn't do well in physics in high school either. And I didn't really like our physics teacher in general. I don't know if that tainted my image of him, because that is definitely something that would taint my image of somebody. I wouldn't want to be around that person. I would want to punish them for what they've done if no one else is. But I don't know if it was true or not. I don't know how long he stayed at the school after that. But I'm assuming that the adults in the situation recognized the reality because he was employed at another school. He wasn't just like, he didn't just show up there one day. He was like, I'm here now. He had to go through a whole interview process. And I'm sure the schools talk to each other. So, physics is a tough subject for me, but I love math. I got an A in Calc 3. And that was the highest math I had to take to get a math degree. It was gonna be more well, actually, I think, yeah, the only thing I had left for my engineering degree was statics classes, but by the time I hit 2012, December of 2012, my aunt had passed away in May of that year, and she was in Revere, Massachusetts. And we had talked about me coming to live with her before that because I wanted to move out of the house, and she had a room upstairs, and she liked having people, and her and my uncle were very hospitable people. They had run a restaurant for many years called Curly's in Chelsea. And it was just a place that had been known for a family vibe. You know, there were pictures of us all over the restaurant because we were family. So in the tables there were pictures of all of us, my cousins, aunts, uncles, grandma, everyone. They were all there, and the extended family that we usually go see if we're on a 4th of July weekend. Or other times we visit. It's been a long time. I moved back from Massachusetts in 2020, and I think I've gone up maybe twice, but I usually travel just for business purposes now. And then I'll make the personal part of the business trip. Like sometimes, like if we go to Warriors of Light in August, then on my way home, I'll stop in Lake George, New York, because it's the same week as my family's on vacation and I'm training. So after the training, I just go and I stop because Lake George, New York is on the way back from Toronto. And it's a nice drive. I get to go through Vermont, and I get to go through Vermont on my way home from Lake George, which is nice. So I'll go for a few days on 2022, when I was working for an engineering firm. I went to Warriors of Light, and that ended on a Thursday, I think, maybe. And then I got to spend Friday and Saturday and Sunday morning with my family in upstate New York. And the first thing I did, they were all going on. Yeah, I was there on Thursday night. The first thing they did was go on a boat. Like they rented a speedboat and they did tubing and all of that on the lake. And I was like, you know what? You guys have fun with that. I'm going to go do the Adirondack Extreme Adventure course, which is my favorite thing to do in Lake George. It is a suspended obstacle course where you have a harness, and it has, I think there are 5 courses you can do that get increasingly higher and harder to do. And it's just different obstacles. You've probably seen these before. They're all over the place, but they are so much fun. And I said, after a week of training in martial arts, from sunup, beyond sundown, before sunup, and after sundown, it's long days. I guess the sun's already up. It is the summer, but we go to bed pretty late. I decided to do an obstacle course, and I smashed it. The year before, I had tried to do it with my brother and my cousin, and I couldn't even get past I don't know, I think I started the final course, the black course, but I did not make it very far. I got to the upper body portion, and I watched them go, and I was like, you guys can't do the upper body portion? I definitely can't do this, so I got down. But I got to watch them finish. And then that year that I'm talking about before, I went by myself because everyone else wanted to do their thing, which was fine. And I got a cup that said I'm a badass because I did it. And I slept in a tent for those 3 days, so I was on the ground, which was nice because I wasn't in pain at that point. When at Warriors of Light, it's very interesting because you would think that you're moving for 6 days. You're going to be in pain, more and more pain, because your body doesn't get rest days. But the first couple of days, you wake up and you are stiff and sore and everything hurts. But the more I just embrace the fact that I'm stiff and sore, the less it hurts. And then by the 3rd day or the 4th day, I wake up and I'm not even in any pain. I have full range of motion, total freedom in my body. And it's not a distraction from training anymore. The other thing about the pain is that it only hurts when you're sitting. or when you stop moving. But if you keep moving, it doesn't hurt at all. It's very fascinating to me. I don't understand how it all works. The only thing that comes to mind is lactic acid. But as long as you just drink enough water, I guess, and you eat the right amount of good foods for your body, and you sleep. I mean, sleep. Everyone talks about how sleep deprived we are. But if you sleep enough, if you go to bed, they give us enough time to get to bed at a reasonable hour. The reason that we don't go to bed at a reasonable hour is because all of us want to get in the hot tub afterwards or the pool. I like the pool. Why did I start talking about this? I don't know. We're meditating with elves today, and the heart chakra, which is green. I went on a hunt, on a mission. I went to the mall to see if there was anything in the mall that would help me connect with the elves in a bath. I went into Lush looking for because I'm thinking elves, right? I want green, leaves, trees, forests. I want something that reminds me. I will tell you a story. I went on a camping trip when I was first getting sober. I went on a camping trip and I went to somewhere in New Hampshire, very remote place, campground with a bunch of people who I had met in Marijuana's Anonymous and had been showing up for the meetings and serving in the meetings and crying my heart out in the meetings and telling them how I hated being able to feel and I just wanted to smoke, but I wasn't going to. So I'll do two things here. First, my relationship with Marijuana's Anonymous was a fun one because I got initiated in 2016, September 11th, 2016, 10th and 11th, in case you were going to argue with me that there are 2 days. It's a 2-day initiation, but the initiation happens at the end. September 11th, 2016. January of 2017, I had gotten to the point where I wanted to stop letting marijuana run my life. I had felt like this for a while, but I had just become more and more aware over the last several months that I was actively choosing to make myself feel worse in all of life, to make myself feel more tired. I would feel hungover from smoking weed, to make myself feel more anxious, more depressed, more apathetic, less connected with life, and all I wanted to do was smoke, and everything else was just an accessory to smoking. Everything was a reason to smoke. And so in January, I show up in a Marijuana's Anonymous meeting I remember where it was, because it was a queer meeting in the back of a church. And the people were very kind. And I showed up and I said, I don't want to quit smoking for good. I just want to be able to smoke like a normal person who just does it recreationally. And it's just like, at the end of a long day, probably not alone. Probably you just wait until your friends are around. You know how you used to smoke when you first started smoking weed? And it was just something you did with your friends. And so you would get super excited when your friends and you would have plans because you were going to smoke and you were going to do something fun together. Or you were going to go out. So you were going to smoke before you went out as part of your pregame. I wanted to just go back in time to that. But the thing about any addiction, and marijuana is no different, is that it gets progressively worse. And so even if, those periods of time where you're like, all right, I want to rebuild my tolerance. I've been smoking too much. It's just become a lot. And this is why, as a former marijuana habitual smoker, I'll call it, the way I see the marijuana industry today is just people who are addicts have fought really hard to make their addiction part of their everyday life. We don't do that with alcohol, but we have to wait for the science to be accepted to catch up to the fact that this is what's happening. But anyway, I digress. I just went in the meeting and I was reading, they have the material, they have a whole introduction that tells you what they're doing, why they're there, what are the symptoms, why does it work, what are you to do, what are you to expect. It's just a system. It's a very good system. And as a matter of fact, the person who developed Alcoholics Anonymous was an initiate of the Modern Mystery School as well, Bill W. And you can see the genius in his structure because it works for people. It doesn't work for everybody, but you have to want it to work for you and you have to submit to the system as it is and not try and change it or outsmart it or think you're better than it, because that's all your addiction. That's all the part of your personality that's driving you to escape life to begin with. You're just acting it out in that area, which is why people get frustrated. That's a frustrating thing to do to yourself. So I did this one meeting, and there was a woman there, Amanda, who just, I don't know, what's something about her. I was just like, okay, you're pretty cool. And she was nice to me. And so she gave me her number, and I had her number in my phone. And I didn't go back to another meeting. Maybe I went to a couple, but I still wanted the same thing. I wasn't ready to commit to being sober. All I wanted was to just go back in time to the partying phase, not the this is my life phase. So a few months go by, I think maybe 6 months go by, because this was January, and I accidentally texted Amanda that summer. I don't remember why. I think that I mistook her for another person in my phone. And then she responded and I went, oh, wait, I know you. Wait, it's a good thing I texted you because I want to come back to another meeting. And at that point, the seed had been planted and it had germinated and it had grown within me to the point where I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be smoking anymore. Maybe I'm done now. I've had my time with it. I've said my goodbyes. And actually, what ended up happening, the thing that had catalyzed me to quit smoking, after life activation, after initiation, I'm wondering if I even received any other healings or went to any other classes in this time. I don't think I did, but I don't know for sure. I don't remember if I did or not. I don't have that history. I didn't write it down for myself, but I did receive a crystal healing and an aura healing, a Modern Mystery School session from someone. And after that was done, because I had my stuff with me, as you do, as someone who's been smoking for a long time, and you find all the ways that you can to just do what you want to do because you want to do it, and you're smart enough to do that. You learn the rules, and then you learn what's not covered in the rules. So I was about to smoke. I think I took one hit. And after everything I had been doing to figure out if I wanted to keep smoking or not, one of the things that kept coming back was like, you put holes in your aura when you smoke anything. When you're inhaling smoke and not oxygen. When you're inhaling anything that's not clean air, you're putting holes in your aura. Now, obviously, if you're just breathing the air around you, there's pollutants in it. There are environmental toxins in it. Those are not going to do as much damage in a single breath as a hit of weed or a hit of meth or a cigarette or a vape. And my people in my family vape. They smoked cigarettes for a long time and now they vape. And they love telling me that vaping is not bad for you. And this is where I just lean back on survival of the fittest as my foundation for life. Natural selection. I don't care if you vape or not. Those aren't my lungs. It's not my aura. It's not my energy structure, my physical structure to have to deal with the consequences of. I smoked weed for 11 years. As soon as I graduated high school, the only thing I did in high school was drink mango rum in one of my friends' bedrooms with like Coca-Cola, a couple of times. That was like the extent of my partying in high school. It really wasn't a thing for me. I was way more focused on my education than I was like socialization, especially after moving to Jersey and coming to high school here. I didn't want to party with you guys. I didn't want to hang out with you guys. You guys are rude. Very rude. I had friends, we were still rude because we were still teenagers and we had behavioral issues because you guys are annoying. Like, the world is annoying for teenagers. And then you blame us and our hormones. I'm not saying hormones don't play a part. I'm saying hormones give us the strength to push back on you. And you don't like that. You don't like it when kids do it. You don't like it when teenagers do it. You don't like it when young adults do it. This is why I like working with students who have behavioral issues, because I get it. I don't care if you give me attitude. I care if we're having a conversation or not. Are we having a conversation? Have all the tude you want, because however much tude you can dish out, I know mine was worse than yours. And people still listen to me and I still got things done. Because if you just talk, the tude goes away eventually. The tude's there for a reason. It's a protective mechanism. It's not a threat. It's expression of how they're feeling, which you're teaching them to do and then punishing them for doing it. Because they're not doing it the way you would do it. Or they're doing it the way you would do it and you think it's wrong anyway. Which is super helpful for everybody. So I did this crystal healing and this aura healing, and I'm sitting in my car thinking, I just paid all this money, good money that I worked to earn, to heal my aura, to remove entities from it, to seal the holes that were left behind, and to clean it up and to bring more light into it. And it actually worked, because now I'm sitting here with this bowl in my hand, this beautiful hand-blown glass bowl, because so much art goes into the science of smoking marijuana. And I took one hit and I'm just like, ugh, I don't even want this. I don't like the way it feels. I don't want to keep doing this to myself. I am actually done now. I'm actually done. And I sat there for a few minutes thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? I've wrestled with this for too long. I just have to be done. I just have to be. And I threw everything away. I threw that away. I threw everything I had on me away. I went home and took everything and threw that all away, even though I had stoner friends. I don't even think I gave it to them. I can't remember. Maybe I did. But I know I got rid of it for myself, because I remembered something from the MA meeting that I went to, and it was like, you don't give people your stash to hold on to it, because if you do that, you're basically just putting it in a savings account for yourself. You're basically just saying, I want this to be here for me when I'm ready to come back to it, even though I'm telling you I don't want it. And I had already done that to myself, because I had gone on a camping trip right before this that sparked this whole thing, where there were a couple of like really depressing incidences that had led up to me quitting. After I'd gone to the first meeting, that summer I went on a camping trip. And they both involved men that I was attracted to and I had dated. One was a camping trip that I went on with a friend of mine who I'd met through this guy that I had dated. And also I met my roommate who I loved smoking with and hanging with, and we would go dancing together a lot. And she just made my life so much more fun. But we would smoke together all the time. We lived together, we would smoke together, we chilled together. It was a good relationship for the most part. Every relationship has its rocky bits. But we were good friends. And I made a few good friends through him. And it was nice because I'm not a person who's going to build a huge circle of friends. I'm just not. In high school and middle school, I had the people that I gravitated towards, that I was close to. We had our inside jokes. We had our thing. I am a small circle kind of person, and I'm fine with that. People in my small circle might have a big circle. I can't deal with the drama that comes with keeping that many people around all the time. I don't want to have to do it. You can do it. I hope If you feel good about having a ton of people around you all the time, then that's exactly what I want for you in life. I don't even mind showing up for that, but I like my alone time. I like my one-on-one time. I like my small table brunches. Like, that's what I like in life because I want to be able to talk to people. If the table gets bigger because more people want to join us and it's like a domino effect, that's great too. But I'm probably not going to spend a bunch of time talking to a lot of people. It's exhausting for me. And it's I don't know if it's introvert or extrovert. It, because I hate that system. I hate the introvert extrovert system. It's too limiting. It's dumb. You don't need a test to tell you how you get energy in life, especially because you can just learn how to figure it out. I dance 7 nights a week now, almost. And I get more energy. I have more energy at the end of the night than I do at the beginning because I'm moving. I'm working through stuff in my head. I'm kind of talking to people, but not really. There have been nights where I show up and I don't talk to anybody for any reason. It's just, I'm there to dance. I'm there to have a good time. I'll gravitate towards the people who are also having a good time and making it fun for me and for other people. But if you're not doing that, the only reason that I have to be around you is to help you have a better time. Because I haven't yet seen how you're going to help me have a better time. I went on a tangent again. I don't remember where the path is that I strayed from. I had been thinking about how I didn't want to keep doing this to myself. So Danny, my roommate, and then Allison. So Allison it was her birthday and her fiance's birthday, and they did a camping trip. So we went on a camping trip in again, I think this was New Hampshire or maybe this was Vermont this time. And the person that I had been seeing was there because they were all really good friends. Like, they had been friends since probably middle school or something like that, elementary school. And they were all good people to be around. It was just the emotional drama that we created in our dating situation because it was very hazy and unclear. So it was kind of awkward. And of course, I feel awkward around all of his friends, but Allison and I had a good time together. And I love camping. So why wouldn't I want to go out into the woods and camp? And why wouldn't I want to go whitewater rafting in the middle of summer? And I did 3 things this summer. After I was life activated, I went to a festival called Mystery Land, which was really fun. And I had 2 friends who I told about this festival, and they were like, "Yeah, that sounds great. I'll see if I can go." And then neither of them bought tickets. So I was already going by myself anyway. I don't need you to come with me for me to do things that are fun or that I feel called to do. So I went to this music festival. It was all EDM. It was incredible. I'd never been to a festival before. And I met people, all the people who were camping around me I met, and actually the people who ended up camping behind me. It was my sister's best friend's little brother, her best friend from middle school, and it was her little brother. And we recognized each other immediately, so he was behind me in his own group of people. I had the people that I met. It was a group of boys, men, and there were 2 girls. And the 2 girls and the guys, um, we all kind of became one group of people, which was fun for me. Because that's what happens. This is why I do things alone. Because if I'm gonna meet people, I'm gonna meet people. If I'm not gonna meet people, then that's fine too. I'm just there to do the thing. If I enjoy it, that's good. If I don't, then it's an experience that I had. I did a line dance workshop couple months ago. No, last month? And I don't remember any of the dances, and I haven't really tried since then. I tried once and I was like, I hate this. I don't like learning line dances from a video. But I will if I'm really passionate about what the song is or what the dance is. But there are some times when I watch this video and I'm like, I like the song, I like the dance, but I don't want to learn it like this. So I'll figure it out later. But I don't remember any of the dances. I didn't even remember any of the dances after the workshop. But for me, that wasn't the point of the workshop. The point of the workshop wasn't to pay $35 to master the dances in 3 hours. It was or 5 hours, or however long it was. It was to have the experience of training with different teachers, learning the steps to more complex dances, having a good time, and I was able to do them at the end of the workshop. That's what mattered to me more than anything else, was the fact that I had an experience. You pay $35 and you think you're going to master 4 dances? No! That's not enough money for that. That's not enough time for that. $35 is for you to show up and do the work that they're telling you to do. It's unpaid labor that you're paying to do for your body. As one YouTuber would describe it. We also had to pull out our own chairs. Bring our own drinks from the bar to the table. Is that unpaid labor too? So now I feel like there's this sense of like pressure and expectation that we all should have mastered the dances in that day, and because we didn't, we failed. Ha! No! That's not how life works. It's too much expectation. It's too much pressure on the organizers, the teachers, the students, everybody. That's no fun. No one likes that amount of pressure in life. So wherever that pressure is coming from, can you just chill out, please? If it's just me, I'll relax. I'll do a meditation about it. That's what part of our meditation actually is, taking the pressure off of your own shoulders. So I went to Mysteryland. I got to see a bunch of amazing DJs, some I had never heard of before. I think I heard Chromeo. Chromeo was someone I'd heard in high school. And then they were at this music festival, which was awesome. Of course, there were big names there. And just lots of fun, good time, new experiences. And then the camping trip with Allison and everyone in that group, that was super awkward. The reason why I brought up the camping trip with Allison is because she had all the weed for that trip. I didn't have enough money for the weed or something. I think it was money related probably. So she had all the weed and I had to ask her every time I wanted to smoke. And I felt so powerless. I hated it because all I wanted to do the whole time was be high because it was awkward as fuck. Except for the times when we were having fun. But it's like, you know how people are. There's a reason why I don't want a big group of people around me. It's so much of your own nonsense and drama. I don't mind helping people work out real issues. That's kind of where I thrive. Sitting, listening to you, talk about things that you're actually struggling to solve in your life. But if you're not struggling to solve something and you're just bringing it up as a part of your life that's dramatic, what value is that to anybody in this situation? That's a question that the only answer I have is there is none. You're just choosing a lower vibration and a less valuable way of being in the world. So then, and I'm sorry to everyone who might feel upset by the fact that I just said this because you're taking it personally. It's not personal. You think you're the only person in my life who I've ever encountered like this? No, I am the way I am today because I'm a student of life. Life experience has shown me what my preferences are. My preferences are being with people who care about having a good time more than anything else. But an actual good time. I even went to a place on last Monday. So today's Monday, March 18th. It was Monday, 7 days before that, 11. Monday, March 11th. I went to a group of people who do sign language for a couple of hours, just like a casual thing. And I was watching these people sign. So someone was actually really kind and he was teaching me the alphabet and different phrases, which I picked up. But I was watching them sign and they're just gossiping. The thing I liked about sign language was that the facial expressions, like I feel like I got more exposure to more facial expressions, which is part of when you're doing ASL, your face is part of your hand movements. So it's all part of your, which is normal communication. It's just we've all forgotten how to communicate with people, so we've forgotten facial expressions. Well, you don't need a facial expression to stare at your phone. So we've all become these lifeless zombies with dead in the face. And when people do have facial expressions and normal reactions to things, you all think that there's something wrong. Do you want people to learn to express themselves or not? Because you're not being clear. But they were just gossiping. And I was like, well, this is not my scene at all. I don't want to be around people who gossip all the time. I think we've already established why. I don't think I have to repeat that. You can gossip anywhere at any time. It's cheap. So then the third event was another gentleman that I was dating. And it'd been tumultuous. It was weird because on our third date, I had left him waiting for an hour to meet up with him, and he was already drunk. And for some reason, I felt responsible and bad for having left him waiting that long. That I was like, well, this is a good reason to sleep with him. That's 20-year-old logic right there. 2016, I was 28. That's 28-year-old logic. That's the logic you have in your 20s. And you're high. He was hot. He was fun to be around in short bursts. But he was flaky. He was not a commitment person. I found out after we slept together that he was seeing like 4 other people, which wasn't a shock to me because you pretty much have to, not you have to. If you have any experience with dating, you should expect that people are seeing other people until you have decided that the two of you are going to be together and you want to eliminate your options. And you're actually people you trust. Like, you're actually with someone that you trust will do that. Then you accept the reality that they're dating other people because why wouldn't they be? But what I wasn't prepared for was that the night we slept together, he invited me to a party at his house the next day. A party that he was throwing where he was seeing other women that were coming to the party. And I didn't know this until I had been there for a while. And then I was like, well, why did you didn't have to invite me to this. I didn't have to be here for this. I would have been perfectly fine if you had just told me, hey, I'm having a party. You're welcome to come. Other women that I'm actively dating are going to be there. So make your choice. I mean, obviously, don't tell me to make my choice because that's going to piss me off. But here's all the information that you're going to discover during this evening. Would you like to come? Would you like to be there? I didn't know that I was walking into this situation until I was there. And it was awkward as fuck for me. Again, I'm the kind of person who does things because I enjoy doing them. So was I at a party with people that I knew? Yes, because I had met him through a sports league. Social sports league. We played beach volleyball together. And I can't remember if we played any other sports together. So I was like having a good time with everybody else. The one most awkward thing was when his friend tried to hit on me. The sun had gone down. So this was a whole day thing. The sun had gone down. Everyone was drunk and high and all the things. And his friend hit on me in one of the most awkward ways possible. And I just was like, the feeling of wanting to punch somebody was very high, but I didn't have the training at the time to do anything effective. So I just like I think I might have told the guy I was seeing, or I told somebody else, because I just wanted him to leave me alone. And he was being creepy and weird. And it's like, I get that the guy that I'm seeing and I are not exclusive with each other, but why would I date his friend? So that was annoying. And then there were a couple of other parties that summer that we showed up to where he was always with another woman. Cuz that was pretty much the end. After that point I couldn't I still had feelings for him, which was tough because I wanted to keep seeing him, but I was upset about what had happened on several different levels. And I wanted things to change, but he didn't want anything to change. So it was like, okay, well, then the only thing that makes sense is for us not date, not see each other. But then we were still part of the same sports league. We still have part of the same circles. So the night that I decided to quit drinking, I quit smoking at the beginning of August. And I had started going to Marijuana's Anonymous, but I was still drinking because it was like, just quit one thing at a time. Just do the one thing that's worst for you. And so marijuana was very clearly the worst thing for me. So I stopped smoking. And then for a few weeks, I went to my friend had his parents have a house in Tom's River. So I think I spent a week with him at the house and at the beach, which was really, really nice. It was like a good break. I wasn't smoking. I think he was smoking, but we were drinking. So I had bought a bottle of wine, and I got like 2/3 of the way through the bottle of wine one night, and we were sitting around a fire, and I just looked at him and I said, I never want to be sober again. I never want to be sober again. And that was terrifying to me. As soon as I said it and realized it, I was like, I have to stop drinking. Not just tonight, but this has to be part of it for me. So I don't know if I drank. I think I kept drinking, but I still had this awareness of like, this is scary. So that was also, that may have also been in August, or it could have been in July. This was a busy summer. Life activation, and then I had all these plans. And at the end of August, so my sobriety date is August 28th, because August 26th or 27th or something like that, I went out to one of the parties that was hosted by our social sports league, and he was there with some other girl, and they were like all over each other. And I just remember feeling so terrible about myself, feeling heartbroken and awful, yet still doing my best to have a good time. But I wasn't smoking any weed, so there was no buffer of the weed to numb me. And I was drinking, so I was like getting more and more depressed. And there was a girl that I was with. She and I had gone together, and we had been pre-gaming and all of that and drinking, and she was having a good time. But I don't know. It was just a weird, it just became more and more apparent to me how depressing alcohol is for the system energetically. So I was like, well, I definitely don't want this to be my life. I don't want to be drunk all the time. And I think I need something. I need some kind of like way to get through the pain of life. And alcohol is going to make it worse. Weed was the thing that I liked, but then the more time you spend in recovery, the more you realize that what happens is it turns on you after a certain point. It starts out helping you. It's like a nice guy. It starts out helping you and you think it's good, but then it sneaks up on you, and before you realize it, it's actually been hurting you in ways that this whole time it's been hurting you in ways that you didn't realize. It's like when you watch a Hollywood movie about a relationship and they're in love, but then years later when the woman's pregnant, the man has actually been terrible the whole time. That's how weed is. And I don't judge anyone for choosing to do these things because natural selection will do that for you. No, I'm just kidding. This is not my place to judge. We don't do drugs. We don't drink alcohol because we're having a great time in life. We do it because it makes hard times easier or dull times more exciting. We do it to add something, and it does for a while, but it also has its own prices to pay that are more than just the money you spend. And the final story I'll tell you has to actually do with elves, which is the elemental that we're working with today. I was on the camping trip a few years later with the people that I had been in Marijuana's Anonymous with. We had been working together for at least a year at this point. I can't remember if the camping trip was in 2018 or 2019. But it was this beautiful campground. It had been forecasted to actually, when we showed up, we went to the campground. I drove with someone else. She drove through a tornado. It wasn't even just a hurricane. I'm pretty sure there was a tornado. There were a couple, no, maybe it was a hurricane. I don't know. It was such terrible weather that we couldn't even see 2 feet in front of us while we were driving to this place. So the weather had been predicted to be bad all weekend. So we actually showed up to an empty campground. It was just the group of people that were going that we all committed to. I showed up. It was raining when we showed up. It was raining the next morning. We were camping right by the river, and there was a line of trees across the river. And I got to put my tent in a spot where I woke up every morning and just watch this river. I could hear it flowing. I woke up and immediately put my bathing suit on and went swimming as soon as I woke up. Even though it was cold, it was rainy, it was cloudy. It was like the perfect weather. And then, of course, it got better. It got sunnier. We got to do other things. We went to a diner down the road. And the campground itself was very artistic. You walk in and you drive in, there's a school bus painted with psychedelic colors and all these like things that you see that you could put on the lawn, like lawn decorations. And it was just really cute. And it had a cool vibe. And on the campground, if you walked around, there was like an abandoned wagon, like an old-timey wagon, and I went in there and got to see it, and it's just part of the establishment. It's part of the grounds. So it was just a very beautiful experience all around. And I like going camping with people who can cook, who can set up a fire and make food for us all. My contribution is not that. My contribution is I don't know what I contribute to a camping trip, but I love camping. So maybe that's it. I'm just the one that's like, let's go do more fun things. We've been sitting around all day. We sit around all day every day. Let's go do other things now. I don't even make coffee when I camp. Other people do that for me. And they're not talking about glamping. We're talking about the most glamorous thing I've ever done on a camping trip is have a sleeping pad under my sleeping bag and been able to take a shower. That's what I love about Lake George. We would get hotels, but I also just like the camping. As long as there's a hot shower, somewhere I can go swimming. Hopefully it's living water. Pools are cool too. Sun. Rain is good. As long as my stuff isn't going to get soaked in my tent. I have 2 tents, and one of them I'm missing one of the things you need. I think the cord ripped for the cover. So, in this camping trip, I've never taken Elven Magic, but I had been to Healer's Academy at this time, so this had to have been 2018. No, it didn't have to have been 2018. It could have been 2019. I have no clue. Honestly, I don't have any reference point for it. But I did a meditation in the woods. I did a max meditation for myself because I wanted to stick to my meditation routine. And I was at a picnic table away from the tents. People were still waking up for the day. And I was facing the woods and I had this river running. And in the max meditation, the first time I experienced this was Healers Academy initiation. Like we were waiting to go into the initiation as the new initiates. And I was sitting in silence in meditation and I was doing a dragon meditation that I had learned from dragon magic. And I saw two beautiful dragons. And I got the sense that a teacher, Verla, who I had never met at this point, was there with me. And they were preparing me for the initiation, like just energetically helping me to relax, helping me to be grounded with the dragon magic, and it was so incredible. And I was like, how do I know this is Verla? I don't, but I just knew, in meditation. Of course I could be crazy because Verla wasn't there. She wasn't at the program. But it just, I trust myself in meditation. So I trust that was part of my experience. I'm not denying that it was. And then this time I did a max meditation and it was all about the elves that were in the trees across the river from us and the myrrh that were in the river with us and the different elementals that were there. Because the elves were protecting and guarding us. They were watching us during our camping trip. And you couldn't see these physical beings if you didn't have, it's like Neverland. If you don't have eyes to see, if you don't have awareness, teachings, then you can't see these creatures. But you know who doesn't need training like adults do is children. And this is what part of a huge disconnect between adults and children is that children live in worlds that adults have chosen to forget, and we punish them for doing so, rather than letting them remind us of what we once knew when we were kids. Because we've abandoned ourselves as children, and we've abandoned all the good things about being children as a sacrifice for maturing. But with that, you lose the gold of growing up when you do it that way. The magic of the modern mystery school is that it reminds us of the things that were valuable from when we were young and helps us bring them into our old age. Living in the outside world, quote unquote, does the exact opposite. So it's like if you look at life as a strand of DNA, before you're initiated, you're in one aspect of things. And then, the little twist in the middle, that's the initiation process, is that twist in the middle. And then you're on a completely opposite end of the same spectrum. But everything's reversed, but everything's a lot better over here. So with that, we're going to go into meditation. And just being seated and comfortable and relaxed. We're going to focus on the color green today. And at the level of the heart, your physical heart, we're not going to think about where your physical heart is located. We're doing this chakra system in this series. So focusing on where your heart chakra is, which is the center of your sternum. And you'll know it by feeling it. So closing your eyes and just sensing your heart chakra and imagining a really beautiful, deep emerald green color. Like newly sprung grass. That's the color green we're going for. And you can imagine this as the two cones that are pointing out of your heart with the narrower part at your body and expanding outwards in the 3D. You can imagine it as a green energy around your heart, like a green ball that expands out, or a haze, however you want to see this energy. Remembering that we've already worked with dragons at the root, myrrh at the orange of the sacral chakra, the hara chakra, fairies at the solar plexus, the color yellow, red for the root, and here we are with green coming online. Elves are very grounded creatures. So honoring the work that has been already been done for us to be this grounded and present. Elves are very serious in nature. They respect tradition, honor. They respect the wisdom that is gained through experience. The elders and the children respect each other. But this is a very serious race of beings. Noticing if there's anywhere in your body that is asking for your attention with pain, tingling, tightness. Staying in touch with the color green and your heart chakra opening. The message from the elves is to take love very seriously in life. If you are too lighthearted, you're not giving love the respect that you deserve. And respect is a deep part of maintaining your commitments. Love is a huge part of respecting yourself. Without love, there is no respect, there's only cruelty. Allowing yourself to soften, to relax. Elves are serious, but they're not stiff. Noticing where you're holding tension in your body, tension that's stopping energy from flowing. You can trust the structure of your life to carry you. You don't have to hold so much tension to hold yourself together. Your bones are doing that for you. Your skin is doing that for you, and everything in between the two is all a system. You don't have to add any more tension to make it work. And in fact, the more tension you add, the more difficult you make it to operate in this world. So just let this green energy permeate your body. Sometimes we can be filled with self doubt while we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. That doubt is tension of the mind, and it's doing exactly what tension of the body is doing, is preventing the light from flowing, the energy from flowing. It's added tension that you've introduced to maintain your system. Tension in your voice is the same. You're trying too hard, you're forcing too much. Allowing your vocal cords and your whole diaphragmatic system to relax. Helping you breathe. Deepening your relationship with trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your body. Trust in all the beings who are supporting you in every moment, whether you're aware of them or not. Elves trust each other to the point where they can communicate with looks. They don't need words. They speak, and they have a good time. When they're working, they're working. When they're playing, they're playing. When they're playing and it's time to work, they work. When they're working and it's time to play, maybe they keep working. You probably know some elves or people who have elven DNA. If you know anyone like this, I want you to imagine the symbol of a cross. It can be as ornate or simple as you'd like. It can be made out of any kind of metal. And I want you to imagine it at the level of your heart. This is a protective shield for you. You can bear it on both sides of your body, bringing it to mind whenever you're feeling unsafe. We're just going to sit with it for a few minutes and just feel how it feels to wear this protective shield. If you want to imagine it as part of a larger suit of armor, as long as it's not a heavy burden to carry, it can just be a chest plate that you wear over your shoulders, but you want yourself to be relaxed under the weight of it. So if it's just an image of this cross, that's enough. You can make it bigger if you'd like to protect your whole body with it. Whatever it is that you imagine, don't make it a burden. It's simple. This is energy work. You don't have to operate under the same laws as the physical world. Even if the crosses are small, doesn't mean that their protective field isn't larger than your whole body. It's just a symbol. There's this sense of feeling at home. The people who are around you feel like home. The people that you're drawn to feel like home. The people who come to you because you feel like home to them. That is the magic of working with these beings at this time. A sense of safety, a sense of structure, a sense of seriousness that you can rely on to make the world a better place. Elven and fairy magic is brought and taught together because they work well with each other. Imagining this ball of green light getting brighter at the level of your heart. I want you to imagine that there is a blonde elf standing in front of you. He or she is dressed in green in what looks to be a very light outfit that they can run and jump in, made of fabrics that are more like leather. This elf has a sword. They look very exposed and unprotected, relaxed, smiling, but serious. This elf has a message for you and wastes no time with pleasantries. You may receive this message in a language you do not understand, yet you feel it in your body. You can visualize it. You see the words, the script wrapping itself around you in gold light and energy. From head to toe. This elf hands you a weapon and a bag to keep it slung on your back, or some kind of case so that you have it with you always. You may have received other weapons and other meditations. These are different systems And because you're operating on many different levels, you're able to carry all of it without it being a burden. The thing you're fighting in this world at this level is arrogance. Elves are extremely humble creatures. You can see this humility in people when you watch them have their authority challenged and they just do what they need to do to keep moving forward. They're not going to fight and argue with you over every little thing. They're not going to correct you when you make assumptions of who they are and rank them lower in your mind based on your own understanding of the world rather than theirs. They're not going to forget you did that. They're just going to let life sort you out because they have other things to do. You notice a bright yellow star glowing at the level of your heart now, beaming out this 8-pointed star. This gold and green is a light that carries you to victory in all situations. It unites the lower 3 chakras and the upper 3 chakras, bringing them all into alignment and harmony. Directing your focus as a team. The other part of this magic is connecting with your sacred sexiness. The version of you that you feel is the sexiest version of you. Curves, hips, if you're a woman, men. Perhaps you're more slender. You don't have to be super muscular and big. Perhaps you're on the more slender side. That's also sexy. It's just you, your body, your energy, what is possible for you without the use of surgery. Just concentrated effort while being relaxed. Getting that image into your mind. This elf leaves you with one last gift. a simple strand of white flowers picked from a tree nearby. You place this strand of flowers somewhere on your body and it stays. Maybe he or she gives you two to balance yourself out. Seeing yourself bathed in a beautiful, brilliant white light. This is a sanctification process of sorts, a purification. White, gold, and emerald green. These are the colors to connect with, to bring more of this sanctification process into your everyday life. You wield your weapon, ready to strike. and you march forward with the elves, preparing for battle. And this time you've gone on the offensive. And with that, bringing that back with you out of meditation. Arms raised high. You come back to the room, taking a deep breath, wiggling hands and toes, stretching, and eventually opening your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me in this meditation today. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I love you. And do good things today. And I'll see you later. Bye.